Because at the end of the day, if a parent or a player more specifically is consuming content on social media, if we can give them something other than just entertainment or the same type of highlight montage, if a coach comes to us, what they can expect is to find a team that understands their philosophy and way of thinking better than they do. If a coach comes to us, and like this comes back to, let's say, oh, my philosophy, they tell us our philosophy is built around holistic development. We will break that down to the finest detail, because if we don't understand that, we can't affect.
David, Toby, welcome to the World XP podcast. How are you guys?
Very good. Pleasure to be here, and thanks for having us on, Eric.
Absolutely. So full disclosure to those listening, these are the guys that are helping me run my soccer social media. And so if you don't like what you're seeing, it's their fault, not mine.
The blame's on us.
Do you guys want to do a quick intro for the people, who you are, what you do, what your business does? And then we'll hop into the questions from the last guest, and we'll get right into it.
100%. So I'll start off, I suppose. I'm obviously Toby O'Neill from Ireland, 21 years of age. I am the founder and now co-owner of SimpleScale, a content marketing agency that helps private football coaching owners specifically grow on social media and obviously grow their business with that as well.
Yeah, so as Toby said, SimpleScale, we're a content marketing agency. I'm David, also from Ireland, also 21, and football is our game, so is marketing, and that's what made us come and find SimpleScale, and now we help coaches all across the world with social media, and that's exactly what we do, and we love it.
Very nice. So as mentioned offline, you guys are the ones that are unlucky enough to be the ones right after the Big Bang Theory crew of physicists came on the show. So the first question, and you guys can both take them, or you can do one and one does the other one. The first one is, will a human colony be established on Mars in the 21st century?
You take this.
It's an interesting question. I don't know where to start, but if I was to guess, I'd imagine probably not. Now, I guess what's backing that, I couldn't really clarify it, but if I have to take a random guess from where we're at now, probably not. Now, obviously depends how stuff like AI and technology can develop, but from my standpoint and knowledge now, I'd say probably not. Now, I don't know, maybe you disagree with that, maybe the physicists have disagreed with that, I'm not sure, but that's
I'm a very uneducated person in this topic. However, I am a big believer and I would say optimist in people and what they can achieve. And I think with obviously the increase in technology, but also AI as well, in terms of the research and what people are now capable of by using AI, I can see it happening.
Fair enough. And it's funny you guys both mentioned AI, because that's what the next one is about. So I'll have you both do this one. Is what fascinates you about AI? And I think also, aside from the fact that like it's just bananas in general, I think there's things that probably you guys will end up using in your own business. So if you want to relate it to that, you feel free to. But yeah, so I did it in that order kind of on purpose, because I figured the Mars one would be way off base, but the AI one, we can kind of relate it in, and then we can hop into the rest of the conversation. So what fascinates you guys about AI?
For me, first and foremost, what fascinates me about AI is more so the narrative around it. So many people think that AI is here to replace people, or AI is here to make people do less and have AI do the work. I'm a very strong believer in the fact that AI is just a tool and it will never replace the human mind. However, it can massively enhance the human mind. And what I mean by that is it's similar to, think about it like this. Let's say you have an amazing football player, right? And the coach lines out that player on the field. It's still up to the coach to get the very best out of that player. So I just think that when people can use AI, it is based upon the advancements in AI. I think it will only go as far as humans are able to develop their skills in using it. So that would be my stance.
Yeah, what I'd say about AI is it can basically speed and fast track a lot of kind of systems and the way businesses carry out their business. Now, there's, I'd say, a lot of negative sentiment around, I guess, AI, and then people who work in maybe kind of a trade space or something like this. just in terms of maybe just not liking it as a whole. But for my main, I guess, vantage point and why I'd say that it's a very good thing overall is, for any business, similar to what Toby said, I don't think it's necessarily going to replace the majority of people. It's just a matter of how it's used within the business, how people use it to streamline their workflow, streamline their processes within their workflow and everything like that. So in terms of just being able to grow, and especially for small business owners, I think it's definitely huge. Straight away, you've got access to materials and support that maybe, 10, 20 years ago, only big established brands, businesses would have had. But now, at the click of a few buttons, small business owners can get lots of information very quick and just help their business in that regard. So I guess there's benefits, there's negatives, same with everything. But from an overall standpoint, I think it's very beneficial, especially for small business owners.
Just an interesting point as well, Eric, like in relation to you and coaches, like it can be very simple. Like you can imagine, let's say you have maybe a coach that's new to the game or someone who's getting experience in coaching. If you're doing, let's say you're trying to think of a development plan for, let's say you're going to work with a player for 4 weeks, you can at the touch of a button go in and type into ChatGPT or whatever AI model you use, give me a development plan for this player. They play this position, they do X, Y, Z. But ultimately, that's just a very simple thing to do that anyone can do. What not everyone can do is, and this goes back to what I said about it's the skill of the user that is using AI. It's like you as an experienced coach know that a player needs a lot more than a simple design me a training plan, right? So it can go back to, you might give AI previous sessions plans, or you might give AI a brief on your philosophy as a coach and what you work on. So it's all down to the skill of the person using AI. I think will determine how far, I suppose, how effectively it can be used ultimately, and how far it can take people.
So on that, specifically with content creation and marketing and that sort of thing, I think probably you guys have seen this as well, but there's a lot of ads floating around, and we'll use Instagram because that's kind of your guys' expertise, floating around that are completely AI. It's like some person talking to a crowd that doesn't actually, the whole thing is made up from AI. And so for you guys wading into this space, like your business is fairly new in the grand scheme of things. How have you guys, one, learned how to adapt with that kind of phenomenon that's existing, but also been able to say, no, we understand Instagram and we can give you a better output than maybe just like some coach going on ChatGPT and asking it to create a month's worth of posts for a less for cheaper than what you guys would do it for. So how have you guys been able to kind of sort through that and then navigate that, kind of differentiate yourselves from, and I think also probably people are going to be tired of AI relatively soon. The AI slop is, I think, what what the kids say these days. But how have you guys been able to kind of wade through that and sort of differentiate yourselves? What are some of the things that make you guys better than others? And then just also, if you want to touch about the start of your business as well, I know there's a lot in there, but just kind of go off that and what makes you guys different. And yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say, yeah, it's a brilliant question, to be honest, and it's something that we can definitely give an answer to. So in terms of how we've kind of integrated AI into our business, like what I'd say for us, we're a very specialist business and organization. So obviously we only work with football coaches. Okay. So for us, everything we do is obviously centered to football coaches, okay, to academies, stuff like this. So a lot of the stuff we need to do, and for times where we need to delegate or train people in, AI can come and help massively within that. So for example, we can create maybe a document and then we can get AI to scan it, take key points, simplify the language, translations, everything like this. And all of this can be done while, the business owners, myself and Toby, are on the back end working on something else. So in terms of streamlining processes, once again, that's where it's been really effective and useful for us. And also on that delegation side of things, being able to successfully delegate rather than having to spend, a lot of time and effort on that. You can basically now have AI do some of the workload for you. So that's what I'd say on
To
that.
touch on what David said as well, to give you like a real example of it. So Eric, you would have had this with us, but also like the first thing we do when we start up with a coach and how AI really helps us is we'll sit down and have a call with them and understand like their philosophy and what makes their training unique, but also what makes them unique as a coach. Now, from that meeting and from the questions that we ask, there's only so much that we can get out of a coach in the space of 40 minutes to an hour. By having AI read back on that meeting, so giving the AI the full transcript, it can go much deeper into that philosophy. So, for example, let's say we have a coach who's all about holistic development for a player, right? And we can ask the coach about different things about why that's their philosophy. When we can give that to AI and use, I suppose, prompts that, again, this goes back to the skill of the user, things that we have refined to get the answers we need. We can essentially go back and say, okay, this coach, his philosophy is holistic development. How does that act as a attraction for players in his local area? Or how does the term holistic development, a term that a lot of coaches base their training off, how can we use that coach's individual experience to further promote that? Because there are thousands of coaches who may have the same philosophy, but not a single one of them is the same unique person. So it's about using AI to go deeper into what they're saying and give us more ideas. Again, AI is a tool. So it may give us a bunch of different bits of information. It's up to us to use, obviously, our skill and our experience to go back and see which parts of that are true and what we deem usable. The second point to your question, which I found really, really interesting, is how do we obviously differentiate between, yes, at the click of a button, a football coach can type into ChatGPT and say, okay, give me 30 pieces of content or 30 content ideas that I can use for the upcoming month. There's two really good points to that. So again, the first point I would say is the skill of the user. It's very possible somebody can do that, but if you can imagine, there are thousands, tens of thousands, private football coaching company or private soccer coaching businesses in the US, right?
You can call it football. You don't have to say soccer.
Soccer or football. But again, you may have tens of thousands of coaches doing that. And while it's very easily accessible, right? A, the skill of the user, so they might not know exactly how to get the answers that they need from the AI. But then B, the only thing that AI will struggle with, and we know this from using it for multiple different people, is sometimes there's only so much answers it can give you. So if I sit down and maybe ask it for a 30-day content plan, I might look at that list and go, wow, these are fantastic ideas. When it comes to the scripting of the videos, when it comes to the recording of the videos, I may think it's fantastic. But then when I post it, ultimately, when that content goes out, I'm now in the same bracket as the tens and thousands of other coaches who have just done that same process as me. So for us, it just comes back to the skill of the user. And this is not a, I suppose, arrogance thing. It's simply that our role in our business is to make sure the coach gets the best out of their marketing. So if you're a football coach, you've got 20 different things to worry about, from your pitch rental to capturing footage to making sure the players and the service is delivered properly to dealing with parents about they need to change a session time, stuff like this. So it's very quickly done. I can get my content ideas, I can record them, but it puts me in the same bracket as everyone else. So I suppose for us and how we would differentiate is, again, you can use AI, but you need skill and time backed by AI, which is how we would, I suppose, differentiate from that cheaper or easier alternative.
So on that, what differentiates you guys then from all the other video editing people that are out there? What made you guys want to start the business? Like as you guys mentioned at the beginning, you're quite young to be business owners, but I mean fair play, of course. But for people that are looking at that and looking at you guys, or maybe they've got some other options, like what made you guys want to start? Where's the expertise come from? Some of the maybe successes that you've had, like what makes you guys different in your own journey for maybe a potential coach that is looking at this like, oh, maybe I'll give these guys a shot?
I'll start with this, and it's actually quite a similar journey for both of us. But for us, and what I'd say is, I'll start with the reasoning and then go into my own personal story. But there's a sentence that we would use to describe ourselves, and it's, again, I use it as a challenge, because if people can fact check this and stat back this, they can absolutely. But there's not a single video, content, marketing, production, any agency or service or solution that you want to call it. There's not a single digital marketing solution in the entire world that offers what we offer to coaches, that understands the coaching industry like we do. And that it can be backed by people who have worked with us and other agencies. That can be backed by obviously I would say, our client experience. I can imagine that a lot of the coaches that work with us forget the business side of things, enjoy the fact that they have someone who actually gets what it is they're doing. And then I suppose the third and final point I would make is to be honest with you, the type of content that we create is very specific. So we like to basically, our whole philosophy is if we can provide value to our coach's audience, that audience will provide value in return. And what I mean by that, Eric, is if we even look at your content, it's very rare that we will throw a load of clips together and just put music behind it and make like a highlight reel. We'll always try to provide some form of education to the viewer of that video, whether it's a parent or a player. So we could be giving them 3 passing drills that they can try. We could be maybe showing a drill that they're doing and breaking down that clip and explaining how it improves the player. Because at the end of the day, if a parent or a player more specifically is consuming content on social media, if we can give them something other than just entertainment or the same type of highlight montage that they see hundreds of other every single day, they take that, they can either use that information or they simply like and see the value in the content and follow along for more. Now, in terms of my own personal journey and how this started, I have been obsessed with football. I was actually quite a late starter in comparison to a lot of people. I only really fell in love with it at about 9 or 10 years of age. I'm not sure in the States, but in the UK and in Ireland, like from the day people can walk, a lot of them are kicking a football. Now, for me, it was about 9, 10 years of age. I was absolutely awful. And fast forward, I was playing like the lowest leagues you could. About 13 years of age, I really started to take it seriously. And then at 14, I would have gone on to play in the National League, or the League of Ireland is what we call it. So that would be similar to, say, your MLS Next, right, in the US, or it would be similar to your academy programs in the UK. Granted, a much lower standard than the UK is, but still the highest level of underage football that you can play here in Ireland. I would have played League of Ireland from, I would have been under 15s. I was playing up a year. I bounced around different clubs for about 3 years. Not sure any of our United States viewers would know the names of the clubs, but bounced around a few clubs. I struggled a lot with the mental side of the game when I was younger. So I was very obsessed. I'm a very obsessive person. And when I came to about 17 years of age, again, it's an interesting point you made, like a very young age to make a call being like, look, I don't think this is going to work out for me. But interestingly enough, where I'm from, a lot of people will know by 15, 16. Same in the UK, it might not work out for them. I was about, I actually call it 18 years of age. I kind of made the decision, look, this is really eating at me mentally. And I just don't think it's going to be a career path for me. Now, what I think a lot of other athletes struggle when they maybe are chasing this big goal is, okay, I'm putting so much time and effort into this. What can I now put my time and effort into? For me, that wasn't traditional education. I was obviously being an athlete, but also I'm quite I would say I'm quite a energetic person, and I was never the best in school. I wasn't, let's say, stupid by any means, but I was a very talkative person. And for me, the natural shift was I just loved working hard at things. Obviously, from football, it teaches you that discipline. It teaches you, it gives you that idea of the more you put into something, the more you'll get out of it. So I transitioned into obviously work and trying my own startups. I got into the online space at 18, working in e-commerce brands, but also sales. Now, e-commerce was the one that I stuck at for about a year and a half. And that is where the majority of my marketing experience came from. Sales obviously helped with that too, but the biggest one was e-commerce, because I was essentially marketing products that I didn't fully understand, but I needed to understand exactly what the person buying that wanted to get. So that's where the psychology came into it, and ultimately understanding and that philosophy of providing value to people and they'll provide value back to you came into play. Stuck at that for maybe 2 years, and then really kind of looked at it and I said, okay, the financial side of it isn't bad, but it's not what I want to do. And it's eating away at a lot of my time. I saw a gap in terms of, obviously there are coaches, private coaching companies who I would have trained under when I was younger. I looked at their marketing, first of all. I looked at other marketing, at other coaching companies and their marketing. And I just thought there was a huge opportunity for them to get a lot more out of their marketing. Because at the end of the day, coaching companies are built on great coaches. They're very rarely built on great marketing. And word of mouth and your skill as a coach is the number one thing. So that for me is what I suppose brought the idea. We're now in business 18 months. And from day one to today, it's been, I would never say plain sailing in business, but we've been able to develop a service quite quickly that we're extremely proud of, but also people get a lot of value from. Now, to introduce David to this, because I know I've been rambling on for a very long time, but it's something I'm very passionate about. David came into the picture. I was in business about 3 months, I believe, and I had a few clients. It was going really, really well, but the level of detail that we put into our clients, doing it with one person at that point in time, was never going to be enough. David, who has similar experience to myself, who I'll let him share now, and also outside of business, a really good friend of mine since I was 10 years of age, he then came into the picture about 13, 14 months ago.
Yeah, so some very good points there from Toby, some very, very good points. What I'd say, the kind of overarching statement is that what we do works, okay? And that comes from two things. Number one, we know football, and number two, we know marketing. And as kind of Toby already went into a bit of his background in terms of the marketing side of things, how that came about, we've been creating content for different business models for the last 3-4 years. So from an understanding of what works across different niches, understanding the people you're trying to target, what you're trying to get out of your content that you're producing, all of that let us really get a big insight and a lot of knowledge into how to create content, how to manufacture it, and then obviously publish it and for it to hit the right people. So from the marketing side of things, which is literally a huge part of our business, that's something that we're so lucky to have a lot of experience in and detailed experience in. So from that standpoint, that's where what we produce now, it works. And that's why the coaches that we work with, continue to stay with us month after month, because the service that we provide is quality. And it really just showcases, what the coaches have to offer and their sessions. And that's something that we're so proud that we know we can deliver week in, week out, day in, day out. Okay. So from the marketing side of things, that's, I guess, our experience. Now, also, it's great to know marketing, but for us and what we're doing, if we don't know football, well, then, you're not going to have the perfect model. So a big thing for us is knowing football. So I've played football all my life. I still do. Now, Toby's played at a higher level than me now, but that's not to say that, I'm always watching football matches. I love playing. I love getting out, putting on the boots. So for both of us, football being a huge part of our personal lives, that makes what we do, first of all, in terms of that collaborating with the marketing side of things, it really gives us that knowledge of, okay, well, if we're producing content to hit, players or parents of players, we're going to know what type of content can relate to them. Now, second of all, to that, when you have those two, I guess, pillars that build and are the foundation of what we produce, because we have those pillars and because they're successful pillars in that regard, it means then when we're working with coaches, the results that we can actually, get, they're successful results. So that just drives us to keep producing and keep doing what we are doing, because, for a lot of businesses, maybe, and it's completely normal and it's completely fine, but for a lot of businesses, I guess maybe they're not really enjoying their craft, what they're producing, which then may, I guess, to a small degree or big degree, it depends, may deter them on their business journey and the quality that they're producing. But for us, like, we love sitting down to work. We love sitting down to create ads. We love sitting down to map out content plans for coaches. We love sitting down to create scripts for different coaches we work with. So when you have those two sides of things, you love what you're doing and you can also deliver quality to coaches, and then the coaches, are happy with us, we're happy with the coaches, and then it's you have that teamwork element of things, and it's just brilliant. And that's what I'd say will drive us and keeps driving us to keep producing.
It's also, sorry, just to touch on one last point, because I know we've gone well into this, but
you're good. You're good.
I think another thing that not only separates us, but is just a hugely important factor into what we do, is that understanding forget about every business, but every person is completely different. Every client is completely different. I'll use you as an example, Eric. You might have a player who is new to football. You might have a player who has been in the game and plays at an extremely high level, right? You may have a player who needs to work on simply being able to control the football, or you might have a player who needs to work on the timing of their scanning. So everyone has different, I suppose, things they need to improve at different levels. It's being able to adapt to that. So example, we might have clients who contact us once a month. We might have clients who ask questions every single day. It's about being able to meet people and I suppose fulfill those different needs. Again, it's about understanding different goals. Eric, when we set out, the main goal was to try and generate as many leads as possible. And then 3 months, 4 months down the line, we shifted that. And the goal is to now try and look at other opportunities, whether that be through, endorsements or potential sponsorships. It's just about understanding A, what somebody's goal is, but B, the type of person that they are. And I think we do that really well. And I think coaches probably feel that off us too.
So as you guys have grown, you guys started off with, I'll say for basically the two of you. As you guys have grown, how has it been for you guys learning how to hire people, delegate people? I mean, I know this obviously because I work with different people within your organization, but it sometimes can be difficult for you to let go of like it's your baby, so to speak, and kind of give somebody else the responsibility of, especially when you're in a situation where you're not providing, it's a service, and so like you
Exactly.
want to make sure that the people that you bring on are going to provide the same value of service and the same type of service that you do. How have you guys found that experience?
100%. So it's something we put off for so long. Like there was a time when I think we were managing 12 clients between the two of us. And it got to a stage where we realized, okay, our, what's the word I would use? Our inability, but also just like stubbornness to not bring anyone else on because we're so obsessed and like the fear of just it not being 100% perfect. That was a really hard, I suppose, thing to just get the foot over the line and be like, look, we have 12 clients here. They're not getting what they need, not because we don't have good intentions or the skill to provide it, but we simply don't have enough manpower. Then it came to hiring someone. The number one challenge that we faced, that we still do face, is because what we do is very, very specific. There are a lot of people in this world who are very good at marketing, and there are a lot of people that you can hire that are really good at video editing, or are really good at graphic design, or are really good at understanding the Instagram algorithm and how to speak to an audience on Instagram. There's a very select few people who have all of those things but understand football, which is A, why a service like ours exists, but B, it's really hard to find somebody like that when hiring. So it's taken some time. Again, the first couple of hires, we tried to go off the model of, look, we're going to find someone that is an expert in their field, and then we can try and incorporate the footballing side of things. It didn't work. We now have like a strict, it's a very unique, I suppose, vetting process when it comes to hiring people. So we essentially will not hire somebody if they can't understand football. Now, we don't expect them to be, a coach, or we don't expect them to have played at a very high level, but they need to understand generally how to communicate with our clients, but also to portray our clients in a very good light. So that is the, I suppose, bare minimum. Once we had that criteria, I suppose, in play, it became a lot easier because with our, I suppose, experience in the marketing side of things, but also the smaller bits that go into that. So your video editing, your graphic design, and everything like that, we came to a conclusion that if we can find somebody who is, let's say you've got two people, you've got someone who's a 10 out of 10 in the technical and the marketing side of things, and you've got someone who is a 1 out of 10 in the footballing side of things, we will always hire someone who is a 7, 8, 9 in the footballing side of things and a 7 in the marketing side of things, because it's then on us to get them up to the level of marketing. It's much easier to train someone in on marketing than understanding the basics of football if they're not interested. So it's about finding that balance. It was very difficult at first, but I can proudly now say, and I hope from your experience with the people that we brought on, it's a much better client experience.
Yeah, some extremely good points there. Now, I guess what I'd say to that is, for our business model, and maybe it's different for other business models, but for what we do anyway, I guess the last thing, when you start carrying out the craft, carrying out the service that we provide, the last thing you think about is hiring. Okay. So then, as Toby said, it was us two managing up to 12 clients until we decided to go out and get some more talent involved in what we were doing. And for us, obviously, it's going to be difficult when, for the last, what was it, kind of 7-8 months that we've been doing it, it's been all ourselves. So, we've seen everything. We literally have the most experience out of anyone. So to come in and look to delegate some of that, you could have negative thoughts surrounding, okay, well, what if the quality reduces there? Or what if they can't do this? So for us, and I know I've already mentioned it, that's where, delegating was a big thing for us, but especially not just, delegating and letting standards drop. Our main thing with us is that we consistently provide a quality service.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we were first taking on new people and taking on new talent into our team, it was a huge step, as you can probably imagine. And we were kind of thinking, okay, well, what was the best way to go about it? So we went and we explored, different areas and different skills that we would need. And then we kind of came to the conclusion that, okay, well, if we know what we know because we've lived these past 7-8 months doing what we've done to get this experience, there shouldn't be anything that we couldn't put on paper, record in a video, that then we could give to someone when they were to come in, and for them to then eventually get up to speed on the same amount of knowledge and quality that can be produced as us. Okay, so with that, I don't know if I've already mentioned it, that's where AI can come in and help that delegating side of things. For example, we can record an hour-long video, get AI to scan it, take out key points, stuff where maybe we have maybe not explained stuff to 100%. That's brilliant for us, because then that means, okay, well, if there's gaps in the quality that's being produced for us, well, we know where to go back and fix it. And really then just throughout, hiring our first, second, third, and so on team members, we've really learned, well, how to communicate with team members, how to understand them, how, to build a good environment where everyone wants to come every day and work and enjoys what they do. So that's something that we're lucky to once again have a lot of experience in, and also just experiencing in general. And it's brilliant in that side of things, both on a business and personal level. And as you can probably know, Joseph now, and he's doing great work. His talent it's amazing. And we've got so many team members that are as capable as him. And for us, it's just brilliant, to be honest, being able to work with a lot of people from all around the world, and just basically being able to see what skills and different type of talent that people can offer, and just help improve our service, improve our service by.
So how's it been like for you guys in terms of so now you take on a new role, right? So before you were doing kind of the day-to-day, the editing, the posting, the scheduling, the scripting, and now you guys have people that do those things for you. And so now your attention can shift to scaling and things like that. So how have you guys found that? I've seen on your guys' post that you guys have been speaking at some events, going to some kind of big sort of tournaments or conferences or whatever. And so it's been a shift for you guys. How have you guys been able to make some of those connections? Again, given like the football world is a small community, and so like to break your way in can be very difficult sometimes. So how have you been able to kind of sort through that, shift your attention into the more strategic side of things, the scaling side of things? How's that been for you guys?
That's a very interesting question. And I think the word scaling it's a very good point you make. A big part of scaling for us is just improving the customer experience, because if we can have a customer or a client or a coach stay with us for longer, that means that we have that secured for months on end. And I'll give you an example, right? Because the first part is delegating everything, right? So once we're happy that, let's say, okay, our editors understand that they can put together what needs to be put together in the way that obviously the client expects, but also falls under our philosophy of content, providing value to the viewer, and in return they provide value back. Now, once we're clear on that, once other roles, so client managers, social media managers, understand their role as well, it has allowed us to basically look to improve the service in other ways. So not directly just improve our marketing and focus on scaling, but for example, Eric, like I'll even use you as an example. Because I now have, so if we're going to sit down, so I'll sit down with our editor, we'll create that content plan for the month. So I'll look back at, let's say, Eric's footage, and I'll say, okay, these are the coaching details that we have. These are the drills that we need to break down. Again, our editors, I will need to give context and explain it from a coach's perspective, having coached myself. So like he's receiving on this foot and he's scanning before because it achieves this outcome. They know how to put that together visually, which just means the 10, 15 hours it would have taken me to put that content together, who again, these editors are much more talented than I am, which has improved the quality, but it allows us to focus on other areas of the client that we previously wouldn't have been able to. For you, Eric, for example, it was putting together that proposal that we made the other day. Another example you made was going to a massive, massive tournament for one of our UK clients. So that in itself, being able to do stuff for him. So for example, right, because we have a team trained in who can make sure our clients are satisfied and make sure his content was satisfied, we could explore these other areas. So he actually was in partnership with another coach, and they ran a London versus Midlands tournament in the Ballers Dome in London. It's a huge, huge venue for youth football, right? We were now able to go down in person because again, it's an hour flight for us. We were able to go down, ensure that the running of the event and the content being captured, so he would have hired local videographers, falls under the style of content and marketing that he expects. It's about being able to do these extra things. If a client of ours is hiring a videographer to come down to their sessions, it's directing that videographer. If we didn't have an exceptional team behind us who understands the standards that we have, B, the quality that our clients expect, we can't do these extra things. Without having that team, by now having that team, we've just been able to improve in other areas outside of just content and social media marketing that have massively improved the client experience, but also made our lives a lot more exciting because we can do these extra things for people. We can take on these extra challenges that help us grow as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So I guess how scaling looks like for us. To start that off, for a lot of businesses, how scaling would look in general is okay. How can I delegate as quick as possible and make more money as quick as possible? With our business model, the reason coaches stay with us month after month, because it's a month-by-month agreement, one thing we have to make sure is that standards never drop. Okay, so if standards drop, that's essentially reversing the scaling effect for us and what we do. So for us to scale, a lot of the attention that we would put towards that is making sure that our service just consistently gets better. And what I mean by that is if we've got happy coaches, that's going to improve our business and our model so much more, okay? Because then we're actually creating a market rather than just dropping our quality, dropping our standards, and not being able to produce what we know works. So for us and scaling, it is a process that does and is going to take a small bit longer than if we were to go straight away and delegate a lot of things. But no, for us, our main priority right now, and to be honest, probably for the next 2-3 years, and even for the lifespan of SimpleScale, is just solely going to be focusing, okay, how can we continue to make our coaches happier and happier, and how can our coaches be happier and happier with us and what we can produce? Because at the end of the day, if what we do stops working, that's solely on us, because if what we do works now, well, then it's a matter of just being able to improve that or just keep that on the same level. But obviously, as you know, young business owners, we're constantly looking to improve, looking for new challenges, looking to expand. So once again, it's just a matter of making sure that we continue to deliver what we deliver week in, week out.
It's actually, sorry, I just want to add another really good point to that. So something I've mentioned tirelessly in this conversation is like our philosophy. So it's an external philosophy that we have for our clients. Provide value to their audience so that their audience provides value back. We have an internal philosophy, okay, and that's reiterated between us, but also our team as well. It's give the best coaches in the world the visibility that they deserve. So when it comes to scaling, right, any input that we do into the business that is client related brings our coaches one step further to getting the visibility that they deserve. Our best form of scaling and marketing is giving our coaches the visibility that they deserve. Because when we have a coach who goes viral, whose content goes global, there are other coaches that see that and ultimately see the work that we put in on the back end of that. So it is, to put simply, the best form of scaling, and what having a larger team has allowed us to do is simply focus on the, I suppose, extra 1% for our client. That it's almost like a karma effect. The better that we do for our clients, the less we have to do on our marketing.
Makes sense. You guys mentioned the Instagram algorithm. I think a lot of coaches, a lot of people who are trying to create content, like I was before I met you guys, etc., are guessing. I'm still guessing at YouTube and the rest of it as well. What are sorts of things that you look at, right? If you were to tell somebody like, yeah, this is how we crack the Instagram algorithm, like, what does that even mean to people? Like, what does that mean? Because I mean, people, regardless of if it's football content or otherwise, you get fed, you're scrolling through stuff, you get fed a certain video or post or whatever based on whatever Instagram thinks that you want. And so for you guys to be able to capitalize on that, you have to have some level of understanding of how it works. So, and also it changes. So how do you guys kind of go about understanding that, understanding when things change, understanding how to capitalize on that? We had one that we were like, this has no educational value, but apparently it's going viral, and it did for me on TikTok, got like like 1.4 million views, which makes no sense to me.
Exactly.
But anyways, so like, how does all that work?
I'm going to answer this one because I absolutely love this question. And this is irrespective of the football niche or any business. When the number one question that I think I see and get asked, same with David, is like, how do you understand the Instagram algorithm? Or like, how does the Instagram algorithm work? And like people ask questions like, what hashtags do I use? Or like, what time should I post at? The best way to crack the Instagram algorithm is to post better content. It will always be that, and it will never be anything else. You have to understand the Instagram algorithm is just a fancy way of saying, what does Instagram want from you? Okay. And Instagram wants you to keep people on there, right? So if you can create content that is visual, so it looks visually pleasing to someone, which increases the likelihood that they will watch it. It is educational or it is valuable. Okay, so it can be educational in the way you're explaining something to somebody. Psychologically, they want to listen and learn more. Valuable can simply be entertaining, right? Those are the three main things that go into a good piece of content. And the only thing that matters on Instagram is posting good content. Forget about the algorithm, forget about anything else. When it comes to the algorithm itself, and this goes back to people saying about what hashtags, a lot of people, they put like Instagram algorithm and like hashtags and what time to post at in the same bracket. Number one tip, post better content. Once your content is good, then you can look at other things like maybe your hashtags or maybe your posting times. If there's anyone listening who wants like a quick answer to that, between 6 and 8 p.m. is always the best time to post. But like, if you're sitting there worrying about what hashtags am I using and what time am I posting at to boost my Instagram algorithm, you're worrying about the wrong thing. You need to post better content, and ultimately the only way to get that feedback is to post enough times until something pops off, and then you know what it works. Eric, I'll give you, sorry, and this is the final point, I'll let David speak, but it's funny you say that. So the video on TikTok that we had hit 1.4 million views, right? That was a completely silly video in comparison to everything else we've created. Now, this goes back to Instagram, but also other social platforms. You have to understand, like, the viewers, so the people that land on that platform are clients to them. So they want their clients using their service as often as possible. We made, I believe it was a 3-second video that just looped over and over again, which meant when somebody looks at that video, and this is proof that this is how the algorithm works, How many times do you think one person watched that video? That got 1.4 million views because, the reach might have only been 300,000, right? But I'd say every single person watched that video 3 or 4 times, which brought us to that 1.4 million viewpoint. Instagram or TikTok, it popped up. It got quite high views on Instagram as well.
Yeah, I think it's at like 85,000 right now.
5,000 now. It pushed that video because it kept people staying on the app. They stayed on our video and they watched it over and over again. So the main way to crack the Instagram algorithm: post better content. Posting better content. What is a good piece of content? Visuals, education, or value. And then you can worry about your small things like hashtags, posting times. But at the end of the day, your main goal as someone posting content on Instagram that wants to crack the Instagram algorithm is to keep people on the app, which makes the algorithm happy.
A strong vantage point for us is that we work with a lot of coaches from all around the world, from different areas, from different countries. So because of that, a lot of the times, their sessions are going to be run differently to a coach across, halfway across the world, or they're going to have different things going on in the footage they send to us. So a huge benefit for us is being able to then produce different types of content. And then with that, and with all of the coaches that we work with who all are amazing, is really being able to see, well, okay, if something works in England, well, then we've got coaches in the US. Why not go to our US coaches and test out this thing that's worked extremely well in the UK, or something that has worked extremely well in Ireland, test it out in the UK. So from a point of being able to test different angles and test those different angles in different areas, that's something that once again, we're lucky to have that I guess tool, and being able to operate that tool of testing a variety of content if we can see it's working. And then second of all, it's literally just posting better content and making sure that content is posted consistently.
Yes.
So posting better content, posting it consistently. And then if you have those ingredients, it's a matter of time, because once again, like Instagram, their main goal is to get the average person who's using Instagram to stay on Instagram for as long as they can, so Instagram can show ads to that person, and that's how they make their money. So if you basically just reverse engineer it, it's a matter of just quite literally posting better content within your niche, making sure the people within your niche, whether that's players, young players, teenage players, parents of players, making sure they can see the content, relate to the content, and enjoy the content, watch it to the end. So there's definitely a couple of factors, but it literally just comes down to posting better content, posting it consistently, and testing out new angles every now and then.
I realize, and sorry, the last thing, I realize it's a very blunt statement from both of us to just say post better content. The only thing more important than posting better content, you'll only figure out if your content is good if you do it consistently. So I suppose to anyone maybe listening to this who's like trying to figure out social media and algorithms, I can realize it's a very daunting statement to say just post better content. You will find out what good content is if you post every single day. If I have a dartboard, right? Let's say I want to, it's like someone saying to me, throw a good shot on the dartboard, be good at darts, right? I can only get good at darts if I throw a dart at a dartboard hundreds of times every single day. Now, obviously you can't post hundreds of pieces of content every single day unless that's your full-time job, which is what we do. But if you are a business owner or a coach, find a routine that works for yourself, figure out a way of doing it, post consistently. We recommend daily. If you can't, 5 to 7 times per week. You will learn pretty quickly. Even if it's not pretty quickly, by doing that consistently, you'll learn. You're not made of glass, so you have a bit of discipline about you. But 2, you'll learn pretty quickly what good content is.
Fair enough. You guys have both mentioned client-centric philosophy. For somebody that maybe is interested in working with you, what sorts of things should they expect in a business kind of, or if they were to work with you, what should they expect?
Yeah, so when working with us, and now a huge thing for us is because we've experienced this in the past, running different business models and even running the business model we do now. But a big thing from us, when coaches come to us, a lot of the time they might have 3 or 4 different parts of the business going on. Okay. And for them, it's really important to be able to, first of all, highlight each of those different arms clearly so people can understand exactly what's going on within the business itself, but also then to integrate an arm or two into the other arm or two of the business. And that's something that we can do extremely well. And we kind of pride ourselves, and once again, it's within our philosophy as a business that, okay, well, if a coach comes to us and they have maybe got strength and conditioning going on in their session, they've also got obviously ball mastery, and they have basically just different parts of their business. It's something that we can come in and be able to separate very easily, but then also integrate them one into another, so each arm can just help the other. So for messy businesses coming to us, and it might sound a bit controversial, or that's something that we basically is music to our ears, because it's definitely something that over the years and over the last few months, we've learned how to definitely structure messy businesses and bring them, I guess, a point of clarity within their content and how they grow online. So messy businesses, we are your people, is what I'd say.
I think without getting into like the technicals of it, because again, some person might require one type of marketing, another person might require a different type of marketing. To put it very simply, if a coach comes to us, what they can expect is to find a team that understands their philosophy and way of thinking better than they do. If a coach comes to us, and like this comes back to, let's say, oh, my philosophy, they tell us our philosophy is built around holistic development. We will break that down to the finest detail, because if we don't understand that, we can't reflect them, we can't market that business. So to put it very simply, you would expect to basically work with someone who goes very deep into understanding the why behind your business, so that we can show that. To get technical with it, that is delivered in the form of content, that is delivered in the form of how we interact with your audience on Instagram, through stories, down to the finest detail of how we write your caption so that it reflects you, or how we organize your bio so that it's simple and seamless for somebody to get involved in working with you, or how we use the 3 different platforms, so YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, which are our 3 core platforms, which we believe are the best for coaches, how we use those different platforms to get different outcomes, right? So there are a lot of different pieces to what you essentially pay for, but regardless of the person, you can expect to work with somebody who understands your mission as good as, if not better than you do.
Very nice. If you guys could wave a magic wand and in like 3 to 5 years, everything goes the way that you hoped it would go, what does that look like for you guys?
I'll let you answer that first.
We may wave a magic wand 3 to 5
Everything
years.
goes perfectly. You're like, there's no hiccups, which that would never happen. But if there was,
yeah, the vision for us is very clear, and it comes back to what we say to ourselves, but also our team. Like I can show you screenshots of our WhatsApp group chat, our team WhatsApp group chat. It's every single morning. It's give the best coaches in the world the visibility that they deserve. And it just goes back to that. For us, we want to be working with 100 private coaching companies by the end of the next 24 months. That's a bit of a more short-term one. The only way we can do that is obviously by giving our current group of about 20 coaches the visibility that they deserve. And once that's done, you'll get to 40. Once that's done, we'll get to 50, 80, 100. The goal, I mean, that's it. That's a 2-year goal. In 5 years from now, it's very hard to say. I'm not that long-term of a thinker, neither are you, but it's just about carrying out our philosophy and giving the best coaches in the world the visibility that they deserve, which will ultimately give us a team of 100 coaches. And then honestly, we'll continue to do their marketing. But when you've got 100 private coaching companies in one kind of community, which is another thing that SimpleScale provides, I mean, the possibilities are endless. As you know, and same with David, like the number one principle will always be football. So whether that gives us other opportunities in maybe coach education or bringing these coaching companies together to then deliver sessions to a player, I don't know. But I think long-term, definitely it's how we can incorporate, obviously, the marketing service as it is now to a more in-person product, or affecting football in a larger way, or soccer.
Yeah, that for the longer term anyway. And I guess over kind of these next few months, even maybe like 12-month range. Luckily for us, like something we've been able to experience is constantly go over to the UK to go over and see our coaches, because once again, it's only an hour and a half flight. So something for us is maybe, in 6-8 months from now, being able to travel to the US to see some of our coaches and come down and actually see some of the sessions in real life. So that traveling aspect of things, alongside our business being able to be obviously run from a laptop wherever in the world, that just gives us the power and eligibility to go over, travel, see different coaches, see them live in their sessions, and basically just see different philosophies within the flesh. So that traveling aspect of things is definitely huge for us, and just being able to explore, I guess, the world on, within a business level, but also a personal level. That's something that we can.
You have to understand as well, like, we are extremely young and we're aware of that fact. Like, we're probably at maybe 5% of the knowledge we'll have, both business and personal life related. So it is a case of getting as good as possible at what we currently do. We would like to think we are quite good now, and I think we have results to show for that. But it's really seeing where this can go, because at the end of the day, like, the better we are, the better other people will be that work with us. And it's just, I would like to see ultimately in 5 years is how far or what we can help coaches achieve.
Very nice. All right, last two questions, and then we'll get you out of here. I know you guys got some stuff that you got to run to. Who you guys got winning the Premier League?
Chelsea.
So he's lost his mind, Eric, because he's been on this podcast for too long.
I don't think we're going to manage to win it this season. Maybe next season. We didn't. We had not a great result there last night against PSG in the Champions League, but we'll see what we can do in the second.
Yeah, that didn't go well for you at all.
It didn't go well at all.
Terrible.
That being said, this man beside me is he's even in a worse case off he's a Man United supporter.
So I am.
So both of you guys are washed.
We are, yeah, exactly. We are washed now. I would be careful what I say about United, because we're slowly on the way back. We'll leave it till next year to win the title. We have to let other teams give them a chance. But what I will say is, from a United fan, I strongly believe that City will win the title this year. As crazy as that might sound, I think Arsenal will slip up. I believe that over the last 5 or 6 years, Man City have been the best team in the world. I think that is largely down to Pep. And I just think you can't write them off. Even though the last maybe 12, 18 months, they haven't been as strong, I truly believe they'll win the league. And to be honest, I know I'm a United fan. I would prefer to see them win the league over Arsenal, because I think they are an exceptional team. So are Arsenal, but I just think City are on another planet.
Eric, we're going to need you at Chelsea next season.
I don't think that would help.
We're going to need you there.
I don't know. I played the same position as Reece James. I think you guys are sorted there, man.
Dude, it's interesting to hear this. So, like, and I suppose this leads me into another question, but as someone, obviously, like, we'd be like, a lot of the narrative that the UK would have about their league is quite similar here. Now, we are very proud of what our own team can achieve. It's a much smaller country. The standard, it's a much more growing game, but that being said, like, the beliefs people have and opinions on certain clubs and teams is quite similar in the UK and Ireland. As someone watching from the States, is there any, I suppose, takes you have or anything like that? Who do you think are going to win the league?
Well, I think the Chelsea fans in the States are equally as delusional as David.
So, at least that's a globally shared opinion there.
Yeah, so there's that. I don't know. I think Arsenal might do it. I think it'll probably come down to the last day. Like you said, a team with the quality that City does, you can't count them out, especially if they get knocked out of the Champions League based on the first leg against Real Madrid, and they can only focus on the league, which maybe some of the injured guys come back and a few things like that. But I don't know. I think Arsenal squad depth, like, they're winning games when they're not playing well, and I think that's very important. They're getting points when they're not playing super well. So I think that bodes positively for them. I think personally, I'd like to see them win it just because it's a new team that wins it. But I don't really have a horse in the race, to be honest. My team is Dortmund, and we suck. So there's that.
Royce fan personally is my favorite player.
Yeah, Royce is. I mean, same with me for sure. I had posters and all sorts. All right, last question. Champions League. Who you got?
Oh,
Chelsea. Now, Champions League, it's a different I'd say, I don't know. Yeah, like, it's your big teams. You've obviously got Barcelona, Madrid, Chelsea. So I don't know. I think it's going to come down to maybe one of those three teams. Obviously, you've got Arsenal as well. I'd say either Arsenal, Chelsea, Madrid, Barcelona, or PSG. Now it's a big range, but one of those teams, I think are going to do it. Hopefully, Chelsea, but we'll have to see.
Real Madrid.
That's not a bad shout, Madrid, because they haven't been good. They've got a bunch of injuries, and then they show up and they smack City. So I don't know. There's something about Madrid in the Champions League that
When you have talent like that, it's just like you even see like City, a team who are so big on like controlling games. Like there's nothing you can do when in the space of three passes, your whole team and organizational unit and how you like shift across as a team when you don't have the ball can just be dismantled by two players out of the 11 on the other team. It's unstoppable. Like it's yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, difficult, but I think City or sorry, I think Madrid, 100%.
I don't know. I might go Barca just to be a contrarian.
I
I don't
would
know.
love, I would personally love to see Barcelona win it.
Yeah,
I'd love it at the Clasico final too.
Yeah,
that would be sick. Are they on opposite sides of the bracket?
Couldn't tell you for sure.
Oh, well, we can root for that anyways.
Yeah,
Any last thoughts from either of you before we get you out of here?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I think, how do you see the private industry or the private coaching industry or I suppose supplemental soccer coaching industry? What do you think will separate coaches over the next couple of years? Because it was actually something that we had spoke about earlier today before this as well. You mentioned it to me.
Yeah, I
Obviously, it's
think
it's an industry that's grown massively in the last few years.
I think it's an interesting one because you'll have so when I was playing, this wasn't a thing at all.
Mhm.
Um, or very small. I think what'll set coaches apart, there's a few things because there's one, I think there's a lot of coaches, at least in the US, that don't want to deal with the administrative burden of coaching a team within a club, but they still want to help players get better.
Mhm.
And so you'll end up with very, very good, talented players who are able to communicate that want to help the next generation
Yeah.
get better. And I really think that once you get to that elite sort of level of trainer, it's really going to be what the player needs
Yes.
and what the fit is for the player and the coach. Like I've got players that some of my teammates are helping me with that it's just a better fit for them.
Mhm.
Um, and by the same token, like there's there's players that have been to other trainers, it wasn't a good fit, and I know the trainer personally, and it's like I know they're good.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think a lot of it will come down to fit, to be honest. I mean, once you get to a certain level and what you need, like the young players, they need to learn how to dribble and pass. And if you're any semi-competent coach or trainer, like you can explain that to a kid, and then it really comes down to like how good the player is, what their aspirations are, and then kind of positional thing. Like if you're a defender and you're getting trained by somebody that was a professional at your position as center back or whatever, like I think it's going to come down a lot to that as well. And then I don't know, it's going to be an interesting next 5, 10 years as far as how it goes because there's going to be people that are going to do it as a side hustle and they're going to have only 5 or 10 players and it's just some pocket money outside of their regular job, and then there's going to be ones that are going to try and take the leap and try and make it full time, and then to do that you have to not see the kids as dollar signs, which is
Yeah.
what made you good in the first place. So I think it's going to be interesting for sure. To be honest, I have no idea where it's going to end up because like the amount of field space, the clubs are still using the fields, etc. So it's going to be interesting. Like people are starting to rent out like warehouses and just lay
Yeah.
down turf and do that, and people are getting creative with how they're doing it. But I'm excited. I think the growth of the game, at least in the US, I mean, there's some stuff that definitely needs to change, but also this generation, like my generation of players that has found this opportunity and then they're good enough that people are willing to pay for it. I
Yeah.
think from a technical and a player, like individual player development is only a good thing. Whether or not that leads to more burnout and other things, I think that's a long-term consequence that remains to be seen. You don't want kids like burning out by the time they get to college and they don't want to play anymore because their bodies are destroyed. They've been training
Which is a
eight,
growing
eight,
problem
yeah,
as well.
like 8 times a week for the
Yeah.
last 5 years when they're 12 to 17. Like that's not good
Mhm.
either. And so the again, it's the balance and the fit, and I mean, it's every player is going to have to take it player by player, find a coach that works for them, and kind of go from there. I mean, that's kind of it in a little bit of a nutshell, but we'll see. We'll see for sure.
Absolutely.
We will. And then last thing, Eric, just for you, like I know obviously during this we've talked about, I guess, our service, how we constantly deliver, how we look to constantly deliver, the quality we do. Also, getting in new team members, making sure their work is up to scratch, making sure we can constantly showcase their talent. I guess from what we've said in this interview, do you kind of feel like your experience working with us has kind of matched what we've said here today?
Yeah, of course, man. Of course, you guys wouldn't be here if I didn't like you guys. This wouldn't be a thing, man. So, no, of course, it's been good for sure. It's been definitely a time burden off my shoulders to edit and do all these things, and like you said, you guys understand football and kind of to make the content, and I don't have to do very much like the amount of times when there's been a clip that I've looked at, been like, that was a horrible rep. Why did you pick that one? Has been very limited, like counting on one hand, and it's like 6 months maybe. So yeah, no, it's been great. Um, yeah, absolutely. I think it matches up. You guys wouldn't be here otherwise.
Great to hear. Great to hear.
Yeah, I don't lie to people on here. That's the one thing for audience that like my currency, just for you guys knowing from what the audience is like. If I lied to people, then nobody would listen. So the one thing that they know from me is I'm going to tell the truth. So I wouldn't put you guys on here and if I wasn't happy with it or whatever. And not that in other shows it doesn't necessarily mean it's an endorsement of what it is that that particular guest is doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an active choice that I made because I like what you guys are doing, and yeah, 100%.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much for those kind words. We've had a great chat. Great chat.
Yeah.
I guess anything from you?
Thank you for having us, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell the people where they can go find your stuff if they're interested in learning more.
SimpleScale on Instagram, or if you want a bit more education about the marketing side of things, Toby and David Coach. So if you want to find out about the business, you can find us at SimpleScale on Instagram. If you want a bit more education and free value on marketing and how to obviously grow your coaching business socially, Toby O'Neill Coach.
Very nice. For those listening, go check those links out in the description. Thank you for listening. I always forget to do this. There's merch somewhere in a link somewhere on the screen. Go to wherever it is. Thank you for listening. Go check out the merch, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you for having us, Eric.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the World XP podcast. If you want to watch another episode like this one, click there. If you want to subscribe, click there.